Shalom, we're continuing our last talk about the archetype nations and the archetype personalities that they were built from, and that the Bible records these examples of personalities and examples of nations in order that we will know the future, and that we're right now living that future. So in the Talmud in Masechet Sanhedrin, it says that in the future, Persia, Paras, Iran, will fall into the hands of Rome. Well, that sounds like pretty good if you're on the side of Rome, and not too good if you're on the side of Iran. But Iran and Rome are today America and what was Persia or Paras in Hebrew. Now, so when Rome takes on Rome, America, Europe, takes on Iran, Paras, Persia, it says they will fall into their hands. The Persians will fall, the prophecy says, by the hands of Rome, which today you could just fill in the blank, USA / D Trump / B Netanyahu, right? They authored this story. I'm not sure if they authored it or it was sent through them and to them for us and for nations to wake up and listen. So what's happening here is that Esav is the archetype character of the Western world, and Ishmael is the archetype character of the Middle Eastern, or the Near East as it's called, that world. And these two giant forces were once just two people. Jacob's brother Esav, and he didn't like his brother Jacob. And he went after him, and he tried to kill him. And then his uncle Ishmael, who was also his father-in-law because he married his cousins from Ishmael. Esav, he becomes the archetype that forms the core of the European empires that would follow. And they're going to have this account with Ishmael and with Jacob. So where we find ourselves right now in history is that Esav / Edom, Rome, Western world, are defeating, crushing, destroying, thank God, the Iranian regime that is, well, they're beyond measure in their madness. You know, there's a scale of insanity they teach you in graduate school. but I think they busted that scale a long time ago. So what happens now? And so the book, the Talmud tells us that for 9 months, Esav, Para, will rule the world. 9 months. 9 months. You know, I mean, look, the Western world's been kind of ruling the world through an economic, well, I don't want to say conspiracy, that's not so fair, but that might exist, but an economic agreement amongst big powers, multinationals, you know, what we call the big companies that are running the countries and the politicians. But that's not what the Bible is trying to teach us here. What this Bible piece from the Talmud, and listen, the Talmud tells us distinctly our prophecies for goodness will come true. All prophecies for goodness come true through all the 24 books of the Bible, and anybody after who happened to hitch a ride on that wave called, you know, the Word of God. Well, when they hitch that ride, as long as the prophecy is good, it's going to happen. We hold God to his word on that, and the Talmud says it. On top of that, though, it says when there are negative prophecies, now negative to who? The prophecies that Moses brought were very good for the Jews. It got them out of Egypt, but it wasn't too good for Pharaoh and his economy and his people. So, but it says negative prophecies don't have to happen. So do not despair when the Talmud itself tells us that Rome is going to rule the world for 9 months, because elsewhere in the Bible, in the Zohar, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who was an esteemed member of the sages of the Talmud, he happened to write his own 3,000-page book over many years. It was written as he spoke. by Rebbe Abba. His main student was a scribe, and he just sat and wrote. Can you imagine? There was no computer, that was the recording machine, was the rabbi's mind. And he wrote the whole Zohar out for Rabbi Shimon, his massive work. And in his book, he says that Ishmael, wait a minute, Ishmael will rule the world for 9 months. Now, we just learned that Esav will. And that's the difference between Christianity ruling the world for 9 months and Ishmael ruling the world for 9 months. I think I said losing. That's not a good slip, as they call it. Now, how can this be? You tell me if Rome rules the world for 9 months, it's not so bad. I mean, they're doing things that are good out there. They're probably doing a lot of bad things. We don't know everything that's going on out there, thank God. If we knew everything, we'd explode. And we have this other prophecy that says that Ishmael will rule the world for 9 months. So what do we do with this contradiction? We say, no, if Ishmael rules the world, it's not good for anybody. So that's a negative prophecy. But if the Western world is led by righteous, semi-righteous, I'm not putting the plate, the measuring cup on somebody else's righteousness. I got to work on myself. But the idea is, look, the Western world is who we align with. It's who we support in many ways, in many levels of consciousness, whether it's, our belief systems, or our education systems, or our wisdom, or national traditions that we carry down, that we use to shape our thought. We're going to call those good. Now, I'm sure the Ayatollah doesn't agree. That's okay. He doesn't agree with much that we do. But the point is, this contradiction of the Talmud is not a contradiction. Because it might well be that Ishmael will seize control of the world through various means, which means like maybe closing off the Straits of Hormuz is going to cause a stock market crash. And maybe, that the explosion of their nuclear program is going to inspire other people to send them nuclear weapons, which you've already heard from Russia. I don't know what the kind of brain they're working with, but they want to send nuclear weapons to Iran after we blew up their reactor programs. Are you kidding me? Is that not going to drive us closer to World War III? Of course it would. But a lot of times outside politicians, because the Medvedev, who was the one who spoke this idiotic idea of sending nuclear weapons to Iran, I mean, they got thousands. They got plenty of spare. But the idea is a destructive idea to the entire world, as we understand. So what we come down to is that both of these prophecies can happen, but they're only for 9 months. And we don't want Ishmael to rule the world for 1 minute. And Esav, well, I'm not sure he's done the best job that's possible with the Western world, but it looks like they're trying to improve it by what? By fulfilling what's in the Bible itself. That God gave a prophecy to Jacob that either he would rule over his brother or his brother would rule over him. And it's a symbiotic relationship. If I'm righteous, I rule. If I'm unrighteous, the other one rules. And that's been Jewish history in a real short nutshell. So if we're righteous, God chooses us to rule. Now, ruling doesn't mean that we tell everybody what to do. It means that we are the Am Segula, is the phrase in the Bible, the Am Segula, God's treasured nation, because we provide the mechanism for revealing his presence. By keeping the Torah and being righteous, the Jews provide the mechanism for revealing God in the world. And other religions will say, no, Christianity reveals God in the world. And the Muslims, of course, are going to say that, no, Islam reveals God in the world. We're going to fight this one out too. The best way is to boil it down. No, you reveal God in the world if you're righteous. I don't care if you're Jewish, non-Jewish, whatever religion you have. If you're righteous, you're revealing God in the world. And if you're not, don't play the game. Don't take the job. Work harder. Prepare yourself to be that person who creates the aura around you of God. No one cares whether it's Muslim, Buddhist, or Islam unless I'm after your pocketbook. But if I'm just after godliness and righteousness in the world, what do I care what religion you are? I care about the goodness that you're bringing into the world. And so both of these prophecies do work together because they can happen one after the other. And in a way, what happens is that both in the end days prophecies of this whole situation, Iran gets destroyed really bad and the world suffers doing it. Now, does that have to happen? Well, we just learned it doesn't. Depends on us. Depends on our righteousness. So God can make us, bless us to be righteous. We can't do it on our own. But he can inspire us to be righteous. Then we shift the scales, and then Jacob rises, Esau falls, the good conquers the evil, and, the rest is a storybook. Bless you all. We'll be back around again with some of these talks because I think these prophecies, they're hidden in deep books that are long away. You have to dig in there and look at them and read them inside out, translate them 2 or 3 times, because that's how they're written in order for us to reveal them to the world. God bless you all.